Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. So glad to have you guys listening today. For those of you who haven't been on here before, don't forget to go over and take our Promote, Profit, Publish quiz at promoteprofitpublishquiz.com and find out where your skill set lies with author, coach, and whatever else you are as a business platform building. Well, today I'm really excited to have a guest that is someone who was one of my mentors. After I joined CEO Space, I actually signed up for his program, and I transitioned one of my downloadable programs into an experiential program because of some of the teaching that I got over there. And it turned out, once I added that experiential piece to it, that it became my most profitable program. It's my assessment marketing program where we build lead generation and an audience. And so I am really glad today to have Adam Markel on my program. Adam Markel integrates self-discovery and business mastery to inspire and empower accelerated results. Adam is a speaker, author, entrepreneur who inspires, empowers, and guides people to achieve massive and lasting personal and professional growth. A recognized expert in the integration of business and personal development, Adam speaks and mentors around the globe in the areas of business, entrepreneurship, leadership, and transformation. His latest book is the best-selling Pivot: The Art and Science of Reinventing Your Career and Your Life. Adam also hosts the Conscious Pivot podcast, so be sure and go check that out after you listen today, where he shares insights on pivoting in today's fast-paced market and interviews experts, innovators, and influencers to share their stories, their wisdom in all areas of business and life. Adam is also the CEO of More Love Media, a company dedicated to empowering individuals and businesses to reimagine, refocus, and capitalize on change in order to thrive in a world where constant disruption is the new normal. Isn't that the truth? He's had a diverse and extensive experience in business leadership, law, mentoring, facilitation, including CEO of North America's largest human potential company. As a result, Adam knows what it takes to thrive as an entrepreneur, a business owner, and a corporate leader. Adam is going to share something with you at the end where you can find out more about him, but you can also visit Adam at www.adammarkel.com. Adam, welcome. I'm so excited to have you. You look like you're meditating. You're like in the zone for this already.
I'm so in the zone. And mostly I'm in the zone because I get to spend time with you. I absolutely love you, Juliet. So I'm saying that publicly.
Okay, thank you. That's very sweet. Well, one of the topics we're going to talk about is right in the background there, your book, Pivot. I want to know what inspired you to write this book. I've read it. It's fabulous.
I'm going to be a naughty guest for a second, okay?
The naughtier, the better.
Yeah, I want, and this is a perfect segue. How often is it that a guest will tell you that they love you on air?
Oh, that is so cool. And when you said naughty, I was thinking, God, I hope he keeps his clothes on. No.
Oh my God. Oh no, I hope he takes his clothes off. Jeez.
Have you been working out
lately? Ooh, yes. So funny. Okay. So Pivot, right? Is that
that's what we're supposed to be talking about. This is the sex show is next.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? At the beginning of the year, I always think end of year, beginning of year is a really special time for people to take stock in, you know, what's been working in their life, what's been working in their business, and what hasn't been working. And oftentimes it's kind of an interesting thing. And I want to start right out with just sort of giving an assignment, this little audacity on my part here to give your audience an assignment if they want it though, because to me, clarity is so important. One of the things that people have told us for years that Pivot provides, that the book Pivot provides, is a great deal of clarity on where they currently are in some area of their life. It could be personal, it could be their relationships, could be their health. More often than not, it's their career. And people are looking for more clarity in the career space. And by career, I mean their job or their business or their side hustle or any of those kinds of things. And so I want to give everybody a clarity exercise that I think is a great place to take inventory, take stock, and start the year off with a great deal of just Yeah, clarity. That's the most important thing here. So it's a T chart, which for those of you, I could probably draw one, but it's basically a line across the top and then a line down the center. It's a T chart. And on the left-hand side, I want you to simply write the words "do not want." And this is kind of a funny thing because oftentimes in personal development, it's sort of first chapter, the first page, and the first chapter is don't focus on what you don't want, right? We've all heard that before. Focus on what you want, not what you don't want, right? It's good advice. There's no question, except I'm sort of a rebel in that respect, and I don't often like to take other people's advice, frankly. I like to test things out for myself. So it's debunking that myth that you don't focus on what you don't want. And here's the reason. Because when we know what we don't want, and that's that left-hand side, all the things you don't want. So for example, it might be, I don't want to spend money in some area for my either personal life or my business life without knowing what the return on that investment will be, or without knowing where it fits in my budget. Or what I don't want is to spend money without a budget. Like you and I were talking just before we even pushed the record button, that in marketing and in marketing your business, it's really key to have a budget set out for these things. Because oftentimes if we don't have a budget, then we don't end up allocating enough money for certain things, or we actually spend and don't have a way to identify whether this is the kind of spend that we want to repeat because we're going to get a certain result. So all those things that you don't want go on the left-hand side. And then you focus on those for just a little bit because they do something magical. And the magic is that they give you complete clarity, as in 100% clarity about what you do want. So on the left-hand side of this T-chart, it's what I don't want. And on what's on the right-hand side is what I do want. Because when we know what we don't want, we also know what we do want. So for example, it might be that you don't want to be in a relationship where the person that you're in relationship with doesn't respect boundaries. They don't respect your boundaries. And many of us know what those relationships are like in business or in more intimate settings. And it's not that we want to repeat those things. We want to acknowledge the mistakes we've made. We acknowledge what doesn't work in our lives so we get complete clarity that what we do want is to work with people and be in relationship with people that respect our boundaries, as an example. So it's a bit of a counterintuitive exercise, but I think that's one of the things that comes out of Pivot, is this idea of how is it you gain clarity so that you can be all about growth. And by growth, I mean reinvention, because that's a book about the art and science of reinventing your career and your life.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I want to even take that a step further. I shared in the intro a little bit, and probably something I never told you, but when I went through the program that is attached to Pivot, which is, what is it called? I've slipped my mind.
The Heart of Enrollment.
The Heart of Enrollment, yes. I actually was inspired to take a program that was a downloadable program and make it into an experiential program. And it has been my most successful program to date. I feel it. I have a waiting list. And it was because as we were going through those sessions every week with our partners, I was describing what I was putting together, and those people were going, I want that. And that was the first time I'd ever considered that. Can you talk a little bit about that program and why? I mean, I know what people are going to get out of it, but I have to tell you, there are a lot of people who've gotten a lot of great things out of it.
Thank you. You know what? I want to correct myself, because you've been to two of our programs. You've been through the live program that we do digitally, so the virtual live program, and you've also been to our home where we teach people more about how they communicate more effectively. We call that the Heart of Enrollment. That's a speaker training type of a program, et cetera. Yeah, no, the program you're talking about is the Pivot Incubator.
Yes.
And yes, so this is in essence taking the book. We took the book and said, obviously took like 3 years to put this book together, and it was based on many years of research as well as case studies. How do we deliver that in an online format? And that's the one that you participated in. And in essence, it's taking people wherever they are in their life and recognizing that we're either at all times doing one of two things. Just like in nature, a plant, if you see a plant, it's doing one of two things. It's either growing or it's, what do you think? Dying, right? And that's the same for us. So we're always growing. I mean, that's the fact. Sometimes we're growing just little incrementally, little bits at a time. And sometimes there are bigger growth spurts. But what I love about the pivot work is it helps people to in essence, find out why it is that they are where they are. And most often why we're where we are in our lives is because of our beliefs. So we start by examining the belief structure. We start with looking at why we do what we do. Why have we established the identity that we have? And most people think sort of, well, my identity is something I was born with. And, the work I'm supposed to do, the purpose I have in the world is something I was born with. And they seek that out, meaning they look to figure what that is, figure that out across their life. And the fact of the matter is that our identity actually changes. My identity when I was 18 or 23, when I just got married, or when I graduated law school, and we started to have kids, Randy and I, is very different than the identity 10 years later when I was 33 and I was losing my hair and I was I was practicing law and I was miserable and I hated it, but I was gritting my teeth to do it every day and really suffering on the inside because I had this responsibility for 4 kids and a life and people that I loved. And that was a very different identity than when I was 43 and when I was 48 years old. And I started to wake up in the morning and think, is this all there is? And will I literally go to the end of my life not knowing whether I was supposed to make a change, even though in my heart I knew I was supposed to make a change. So it's that taking stock is the first element of it. And the program in the book really drills down very seriously on where we are, what our identity is, what it is that we're evolving into, and what stops us, namely the fear stories that we play, the things that we hold on to that we haven't yet let go of, the beliefs that we've got. And as important as it is to identify your beliefs, it's just as important to identify what it is that you can unbelieve. The unlearning and the unbelieving process is magnificent. I know you got a lot out of that. And then moving from beliefs, we go right into how it is that you start things. What's the momentum, the process to create momentum? And that's all about behaviors, because we don't just have limiting beliefs. As you know, we have limiting behaviors too.
Yes. Really identifying those patterns and how you can break them. I truly believe that is our mission on this earth, is to be able to identify those patterns, work them out in this lifetime, and then go on to the next one and work on those ones that we didn't quite master this time, which I have a few of those too. So you also mentioned the Heart of Enrollment, the speaker, and the speaker one is really close to my heart because speakers work so closely with books, which is kind of my, the author platform and the coach and the speaker platform building. Tell us about that program. And because I love the way you did it in person. It was experiential. It was natural. It was fun. It was fun for everyone.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm going to say this truthfully. It's selfish for me because I used to run these programs for hundreds and hundreds of people at a time. And part of the reason that we did that was because it was a scale business and with a lot of overhead and a lot of marketing expense, we had to scale. And that means you've got to sort of put a room together in the personal growth space or in the business consulting and training space, which is what I do a lot of these days. You've got to have several hundred people in the room just to make the numbers work. Mm-hmm. So this is selfish for me now that we don't have to do that any longer. And so to be able to work with people more one-on-one is where my heart is. I get to spend the time in debriefing folks. And because it's sometimes that debrief it can be nice and easy. And sometimes it's a little bit more challenging and we go deep and we push people. And when I was in a space of 400, 500 people, I couldn't do that. I couldn't just allow the universe to guide me or for my intuition to guide me. And if it took a half hour or 45 minutes to debrief somebody on a particular point in their speaking, then I just couldn't go there, but now I can. And what I find is that everybody has something to say. It's just a question of whether they have gotten to the point in their life where they realize it's their job to say it. It's their duty. It's their dharma. It's their calling to say it. Not everybody's there. So our work isn't for everybody. It's not intended to be. As you being a prolific marketer, if you're trying to be all things to all people, you're really nothing to anyone. Right. So it's kind of, again, one of those first rule things. I recently saw that movie, A Star is Born, and the remake of the movie A Star is Born, which I don't know if you've seen it, but I absolutely love it. And there's a beautiful place in that movie where Bradley Cooper is talking to Lady Gaga, and she's written songs, but she's never shared them publicly because she's got this thing in her head that, either her voice isn't what it's supposed to be, or that people will judge her. And in fact, she's had experience where people have judged her based on her looks. You know, her nose is too big and she's not pretty enough and all this kind of nonsense. And he has this moment in this bar where he says to her, you know, everybody has something to say, but not everybody has the courage to stand up and be heard and share it with the world. And so for us, the people that are called to work with us in that intimate setting on their voice, on their communication, on their effective and clear delivery of their message, which is everything in marketing, as you know, and in so many other areas of leadership, those folks that are called to work with us, it's a very intense and intimate experience. And we go through that process to help them to unlock their voice and get crystal clear on what it is they want to say. And then how it is that you say it so people will actually listen.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I actually, with what I do, I have what I call the invisible author. I want to be out there. I want everybody to read my books, but I don't really want to do anything to get there. So it's really a kind of a conundrum. What was fun about that atmosphere was, I have to be really transparent here. I thought, oh, I'm going to go. What am I going to learn? I'm already a speaker. But I learned so much that weekend about not only being natural, but I don't have a fear of speaking. And I realized how many people really, really do. But one of the things when I thought back after that weekend about the fear they had was, when I used to do pitches in advertising when I first started out, I actually used to wear reading glasses when I pitched, because then I couldn't see my audience. I could just kind of like look around. I didn't want to make eye contact. So I just kind of found a workaround until I got braver about that. But it's just like a lot of people had that fear.
Yes.
And so long ago, I had forgotten that I even had that fear. That weekend brought up the reading glass thing that I used to do. I used to kind of hide and they wouldn't even know it.
It's a barrier.
Yeah.
A very subtle one, but it is a visual barrier and it keeps you safe. And that's more often than not why people, one of the first things that I notice when folks are speaking on a stage is when they get on stage, they take a step backwards, in fact. Yeah, because it is this, it's not fear of public speaking. So folks that are watching this, listening to this now, it's really not about the fear of public speaking. It's the fear of public humiliation. That's
yes. Oh my gosh. I shake for like the first 30 seconds, like, oh, please don't let me make an ass of myself. No. So yeah, I totally get it. So why, you work with so many entrepreneurs, why is this speaking skill so essential to their money making?
Oh my God. I mean, well, listen, you can answer that question from a marketing perspective better than I can. I think it is the most important skill in life. I mean, it's the oldest tradition is storytelling, is the ability to convey information so that you can inform the tribe, literally inform, advise, counsel the tribe. These were the most respected and revered members of the tribe thousands of years ago, and it's still the case today. These are the most respected people. They're among the highest paid people. They're the people that advance the fastest in their corporate work, whether it's in, they're an executive or they want to be, or they want to lead a company. And even in their own entrepreneurial pursuits, this is how you engage your audience, meaning your tribe out there, the people that you want to have come and do business with you. They're the people that you also will attract to be part of your team. We know we can't do it alone. We've got to attract people. And sometimes that attraction isn't based on money. And more often than not, it's not based on money. People will work with you because they buy into your beliefs. They buy into your why. They buy into you. And if you're a poor communicator, if you're an unclear communicator, if people can't feel your heart, that's one of the things we teach people is actually, how do you speak from the heart effectively, clearly, so that you're involving your head, but this is not the thing. You're not in your head in the process of communicating that information. So we work with a lot of executives, a lot of people in their own businesses. We work with doctors, other folks that have challenges in simply getting out of their head, but using the information, the wisdom, their knowledge, their left brain to access other aspects of themselves so they can be more fully expressed. And that translates into a massive bottom line for people, both in terms of how they convey, how they attract, how they sell even.
No, I agree. And from the standpoint that once you're doing this from the stage and connecting with your heart, there's your authentic self. And if your marketing that you're doing around all of that isn't from your heart and authentic, it doesn't connect. It's the same thing. So I would really recommend, if you're not getting that marketing from the heart, go do some of this work with Adam and get that out and learn how to be authentic. Because we have so many people who come to us that say, oh, I like Adam Markel's website and what he does, just make mine like his. Well, it's a lot of Jack Canfield too. If you're not Jack Canfield, it's not going to work for you. So you really do have to get to that heart space.
Well, you know what? Let's set an intention right now for everybody that's into 2019 at this point, knowing that you want to have a bigger impact in the world. And I hope that means everybody. I hope everybody's just going yes to that. That's me. It's a distinction, and little distinctions. Like my grandmother used to make these little cakes that she called little gems, and she's passed almost 20 years at this point. I miss her. I still bring her up on purpose because I want to think about her. Yeah, well, she was just the most wonderful lady. And she made these little cakes that she called little gems. And when I was a kid, I remember biting into this tiny little cake and my mouth would explode with flavor. I said, Grandma, what the heck is going on with these cakes? And she said, Adam, she'd say, little things in life can have a big impact. And that is the law of little actions, the law of baby steps, the law of small incremental improvement. These are laws in the universe that we start with little things, just the way a domino has the impact to knock over another domino, and on and on and on to create momentum. So to me, a little distinction is super important. So here's one for all of us, that instead of being in the business, in a transactional business, let's set the intention in 2019 that we're in a transformational business, that's our work. Because there's a whole different, when we talk about how it is that we go from our heads to our hearts, words have impact. When we have the words, we also have the way. So think about that. When you're thinking about your customer, when you're thinking about how you're going to communicate with your potential market or your existing market, are you thinking in transactional terms, or are you thinking in transformational terms? Small things, small change in our language can change a whole lot in the outcomes that we see.
Yes. And being in that transactional is outcome related. And people don't understand that transformational just brings the transaction with grace and ease. So it's very important. You guys, everybody do that. Write that down. So Adam, I want to find out, where do we find your book? Where do we find you? And you actually are going to give us 2 gifts today, aren't you? Since it's the beginning of the year.
Holiday time, yes. New Year's, absolutely. The book is available on Amazon. That's the easiest way to find it. Pivot, the Art and Science of Reinventing Your Career and Life. We have a podcast and some other great things that you can check out at adammarkel.com. That's simple enough. And we've got 2 gifts for everybody, which I'm really excited about. So one is strictly on the pivot side. And by that, I mean, if you want to find out where you are in the pivot process, and my son, Max, just said to me the other day, Daddy goes, pivot, it implies that this like big turning of the ship kind of changes in people's lives. And that can scare the crap out of people. He says, what I think is that we're involved every day in micro pivots. And out of the mouths of babes, he's a 20-year-old babe now. And so pretty remarkable wisdom there. And that's so true. These micro changes, et cetera. So we've got a gift for those folks who want to find out where they're at. And there's 6 questions. And these 6 questions are very powerful on the side of gaining clarity. You can go to startmypivot.com to access that. Startmypivot.com to access that gift. The second gift is on the side of the heart of enrollment. So this idea of how it is that we enroll people. We're constantly in enrollment conversations, whether we're trying to get our kids to brush their teeth or do their homework, or we're trying to get somebody to say yes to our product or service. So that enrollment is key to everything in life. And the biggest form of enrollment that I'm aware of, at least in terms of the impact we can have, is through our voice. And our voice shows up in all of our marketing messages as well. So you can go to speaktoenroll.com/gift. Speaktoenroll.com/gift. And what you're going to get access to there is a host of resources for speakers, for people who want to communicate more authentically, more transparently, more effectively in any area, whether it's to invite people into their space with a product or service, or to attract more talent to their team, or to be able to craft those more real marketing messages where people just go, oh, I can actually feel this person's what they mean, and that just translates into, as you say, much better outcomes.
Mhm.
It's our pleasure to offer those both.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited for my audience. All of you guys, go over and get them. Adam, thank you for your time today. This has been wonderful. You're so easy to talk to on the podcast. I love it. Most of the time I'm pulling like teeth to get questions answered.
You know what the reason is?
What?
Juliet, because I'm a bothist. Remember this, right?
Oh, that's right.
It's neither.
So tell that story. Tell that program. That's a fantastic ending.
No. Oh my goodness. It's never either or. It's either or thinking is scarcity thinking, but abundant thinking is it's always both, right? It's right, it's wrong, it's black, it's white, it's all of the above. And what that to me means is that we always have access. I mean, to be more serious about it, I was thinking of starting a new religion called Bothism, just as a gag, but it really is about just recognizing that the divine is everywhere around us. And I know we're divided in our country. I mean, there's no two ways about it these days, that people feel that way. There's an energy of division. As we start this new year off, let's start it off on the right foot, where we're thinking both. We're not thinking it's either or. It's not red or blue. This is not about choosing a team. We're all under one sun. Isn't that true?
Yes, we all have that possibility to connect with others in some way. You may not go to Christmas dinner and talk politics, but there are other ways you can connect and have bothism. So thank you,
Awesome.
Adam. I so appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Juliet.